In the journey of sacred union, the connection between the divine masculine and divine feminine transcends ordinary love. It is a meeting of souls, a divine contract written long before either entered this lifetime. For the divine masculine, realizing that his divine feminine is truly the one is not merely a logical decision. It is an awakening of the heart, mind, body, and spirit. This recognition often comes through a profound inner shift, where surface-level attraction deepens into soul-level knowing. As he embarks on his own healing journey, the divine masculine starts to sense an undeniable pull toward his feminine counterpart, a magnetic force that feels like home, yet challenges him to grow beyond limitations. It is through signs, synchronicities, spiritual mirrors, and moments of deep resonance that he begins to understand this connection is not just love, it is destiny. In this exploration, we'll delve into 4 key ways the divine masculine comes to recognize his divine feminine as his destined partner, his sacred mirror, and his divine counterpart: energetic alignment and inner awakening. When the divine masculine crosses paths with his divine feminine, it is not a random encounter. It is a sacred reunion orchestrated by the universe. From the very beginning, there is an undeniable energetic pull, a magnetic force that defies explanation. Her presence stirs something deep within him, something ancient, powerful, and sacred, as if his soul suddenly remembers her from beyond this lifetime. This connection goes beyond physical attraction or emotional compatibility. It manifests as a profound feeling of homecoming, a sense that he has finally found the missing piece of his own soul. With her, there is a rare kind of peace, a stillness in the chaos, as though the noise of the outside world fades away. It is both grounding and elevating. Grounding because she anchors him into his truest self, and elevating because she inspires him to rise higher in consciousness, purpose, and love. This energetic alignment often triggers what can only be described as a spiritual awakening. Suddenly, the divine masculine becomes more aware, not just of her, but of himself. He starts noticing signs from the universe, synchronicities like angel numbers, meaningful songs, dreams, symbols, or even sudden shifts in his inner world. He may begin to question his old ways of being, realizing that superficial desires, material pursuits, and ego-based choices no longer satisfy him. Her energy acts as a catalyst, awakening his dormant divine essence. He begins to feel more connected to his emotions, to the earth, to the divine, and to his own soul's purpose. For some, this awakening comes gently, like a soft sunrise illuminating the darkest corners of the soul. For others, it can be intense, shaking the very foundation of who he thought he was, forcing him to confront his shadows, his fears, and the parts of himself he had long suppressed. Yet through it all, her energy remains a steady lighthouse, not fixing him, but simply being, allowing him the space to remember who he truly is. He realizes that true masculinity is not about control, power, or dominance. It is about presence, integrity, protection, and devotion. His divine feminine doesn't complete him. Rather, she activates the remembrance that he has always been whole, and that together their energies create something transcendent. This awakening marks the beginning of a profound inner transformation. The divine masculine starts walking the path of authenticity, aligning his actions with his soul's truth. He feels called to shed anything that no longer resonates, toxic habits, limiting beliefs, unhealed wounds, because he understands now that the connection he shares with his divine feminine is sacred. It is not just about love, it is about purpose, healing, and rising together as embodiments of divine harmony. Mirror reflections and soul growth. One of the most profound aspects of the divine masculine's awakening to his divine feminine is the realization that she acts as a sacred mirror for his soul. This is not always an easy realization. In fact, it is often through the reflection of both light and shadow that he begins to truly see himself. She reflects not only his highest potential, his strength, wisdom, love, and divine purpose, but also his unresolved wounds, fears, and insecurities. At first, this can be both magnetic and overwhelming. The divine feminine's presence naturally illuminates the parts of him that have been hidden, neglected, or suppressed. Old wounds may resurface, wounds around abandonment, unworthiness, rejection, or the fear of vulnerability. She does not do this intentionally. Simply by being her authentic, radiant self, she triggers his deeper healing. This mirror is a powerful gift. Although it may not always feel like it in the beginning, he starts to recognize patterns within himself, the ways he may have closed his heart, protected himself with walls, or lived according to societal expectations of masculinity that no longer align with his soul. Her energy calls him into accountability, asking him to confront these parts not with shame, but with love and courage. At the same time, she mirrors his limitless potential. In her eyes, he sees the man he is destined to become. A man rooted in integrity, devotion, emotional depth, and spiritual strength. He begins to remember that true masculine energy is not about dominance or control, but about holding sacred space, offering protection, embodying stability, and leading with compassion and wisdom. This phase of the journey is often accompanied by periods of deep introspection, inner conflict, and even temporary separation. When the shadows feel too intense, the divine masculine may pull away, not because he doesn't love her, but because he is overwhelmed by the magnitude of his own healing. Yet, even in distance, her energy continues to work within him. He cannot unsee the truth she has reflected. Her mirror continues to guide him back to himself. As he embraces this soul growth, he begins to shed old identities, versions of himself shaped by trauma, societal conditioning, or fear-based patterns. The more he heals, the more aligned he becomes with his higher self. And with this alignment, the relationship between him and his divine feminine also transforms, evolving from a space of triggering and tension into one of harmony, co-creation, and sacred partnership. Ultimately, the divine masculine realizes that this connection was never meant to be ordinary. It was divinely designed to push both souls toward their highest evolution. Her role as his mirror is not just to show him what needs healing, but also to remind him of the greatness within him. The king, the protector, the lover, the spiritual warrior. Together, as they both heal and rise, their union becomes a powerful force for love, transformation, and light in the world. Unconditional love, beyond ego and fear. As the divine masculine deepens his journey with the divine feminine, he begins to realize that this love is unlike any he has ever known. It is not rooted in conditions, expectations, or surface desires, but in something far greater, unconditional love that transcends ego and fear. At first, the ego resists. Old fears of rejection, unworthiness, or abandonment rise. The instinct to protect, withdraw, or distance may surface. But as his soul awakens, a deeper truth emerges, that this connection isn't here to hurt him, but to heal and liberate him. The divine feminine's love offers him a space where he can be fully seen, fully accepted, and fully loved, not for what he does, but for who he truly is. In her presence, he learns that vulnerability is not weakness, but strength. He discovers that love doesn't demand control or perfection. It thrives in freedom, honesty, and mutual growth. As fear dissolves, he understands that this union is not about possession or dependency, but about walking side by side as equals in a sacred partnership. This love calls him to embrace himself, his light, his shadow, his truth, and from this self-love, his capacity to love her deepens even more. Together, beyond the limits of ego and fear, they become mirrors of divine love, capable of not only transforming themselves, but inspiring healing and awakening in the world around them. Sacred purpose and spiritual mission alignment. As the divine masculine continues to awaken through the presence of his divine feminine, another profound realization begins to anchor deeply within him. Their love is not only sacred, but also purposeful. This connection was never meant to remain just within the confines of romance or personal fulfillment. Instead, it serves as a catalyst for both souls to rise into their divine missions, individually and together. The divine feminine's energy ignites within him a remembering, a call from the depths of his soul that he may have long ignored or buried. As her presence activates his heart, he begins to see his life with new clarity. The distractions of material success, ego-driven pursuits, or shallow connections lose their grip. He starts asking bigger questions. Why am I here? What am I truly meant to do? How can I serve something greater than myself? In this awakening, he realizes that being with her is not about possession or comfort. It is about co-creation with the divine. Her presence aligns him with his higher self, grounding him into a mission that feels bigger than either of them alone. Where he once sought success based on worldly standards, he now feels called to walk the path of the spiritual warrior, the conscious creator, the divine leader, one who serves love, truth, and healing. Their energies naturally harmonize into a sacred balance. The divine feminine channels intuition, creativity, spiritual wisdom, and nurturing, while the divine masculine anchors structure, protection, focus, and action. This energetic synergy becomes a powerful force, not just for their own evolution, but for the upliftment of those around them. Together, they become living embodiments of divine balance. Their relationship itself becomes a form of sacred service, whether that's through teaching, healing, creating conscious businesses, leading communities, or simply inspiring others by the way they love and support one another. People around them may notice the strength, peace, and radiance that their union emits, often without them needing to say a word. Their presence becomes healing. The divine masculine understands that this is no ordinary relationship. It is a spiritual contract, a soul mission. Their love serves as a beacon, a lighthouse in a world often overwhelmed by disconnection, chaos, and fear. He recognizes that the love he shares with his divine feminine is not just for personal joy, but to be a vessel for the divine plan, a love that ripples outward, awakening others to their own truths and destinies. This alignment with sacred purpose also brings a sense of peace. The inner conflicts, doubts, and uncertainties that once plagued him begin to fade. In their place is a solid knowing that he is exactly where he is meant to be, doing exactly what his soul came here to do, with the partner destined to walk this path beside him. Together, they are co-creators of a new paradigm, a union that holds the power to not only transform themselves, but to serve as a living example of what divine partnership truly looks like in this lifetime.